The Doom of La Traviata. Evening stole up out of the mysterious lands and came down on the streets of Paris, and the things of the day withdrew themselves and hid away, and the beautiful city was strangely altered, and with it the hearts of men. And with lights and music, and in silence and in the dark, the other life arose, the life that knows the night, and dark cats crept from the houses and moved to silent places, and dim streets became haunted with dusk shapes. At this hour in a mean house, near to the Moulin Rouge, La Traviata died, and her death was brought to her by her own sins, and not by the years of God. But the soul of La Traviata drifted blindly about the streets where she had sinned, till it struck against the wall of Notre Dame de Paris. Thence it rushed upwards, as the sea mist when it beats against a cliff, and streamed away to paradise, and was there judged. And it seemed to me, as I watched from my place of dreaming, when La Traviata came and stood before the seat of judgment, that clouds came up rushing from the far paradisal hills, and gathered together over the head of God, and became one black cloud. And the clouds moved swiftly as shadows of the night when a lantern is swung in the hand, and more clouds rushed up, and ever more and more, and as they gathered, the cloud a little above the head of God became no larger, but only grew blacker and blacker. And the halos of the saints settled lower upon their heads and narrowed and became pale, and the singing of the choirs of the seraphim faltered and sunk low, and the converse of the blessed suddenly ceased. Then a stern look came into the face of God, so that the seraphim turned away and left him, and the saints. Then God commanded, and 7 great angels rose up slowly through the clouds that carpet paradise, and there was pity on their faces, and their eyes were closed. Then God pronounced judgment, and the lights of paradise went out, and the azure crystal windows that looked towards the world, and the windows rouge and verd, became dark and colorless, and I saw no more. Presently, the 7 great angels came out by one of heaven's gates, and set their faces hellwards, and 4 of them carried the young soul of La Traviata, and one of them went on before, and one of them followed behind. These 6 trod with mighty strides the long and dusty road that is named the Way of the Damned. But the 7th flew above them all the way, and the light of the fires of hell that was hidden from the 6 by the dust of that dreadful road flared on the feathers of his breast. Presently, the 7 angels, as they swept hellwards, uttered speech. "She is very young," they said, and "She is very beautiful," they said. And they looked long at the soul of La Traviata, looking not at the stains of sin, but at that portion of her soul wherewith she had loved her sister a long while dead, who flitted now about an orchid on one of heaven's hills, with the low sunlight ever on her face, who communed daily with the saints when they passed that way, going to bless the dead from heaven's utmost edge. And as they looked long at the beauty of all that remained beautiful in her soul, they said, "It is but a young soul." And they would have taken her to one of heaven's hills, and would have given her a cymbal and a dulcimer, but they knew that the paradisal gates were clamped and barred against La Traviata. And they would have taken her to a valley in the world where there were a great many flowers, and a loud sound of streams, where birds were singing always, and church bells rang on Sabbaths. Only this they durst not do. So they swept onwards nearer and nearer hell, but when they were come quite close, and the glare was on their faces, and they saw the gates already divide and prepare to open outwards, they said, "Hell is a terrible city, and she is tired of cities." Then suddenly they dropped her by the side of the road, and wheeled and flew away. But into a great pink flower that was horrible and lovely grew the soul of La Traviata, and it had in it 2 eyes, but no eyelids, and it stared constantly into the faces of all the passers-by that went along the dusty road to hell. And the flower grew in the glare of the lights of hell, and withered, but could not die. Only one petal turned back towards the heavenly hills as an ivy leaf turns outwards to the day, and in the soft and silvery light of paradise it withered not nor faded, but heard at times the commune of the saints coming murmuring from the distance, and sometimes caught the scent of orchards wafted from heavenly hills, and felt a faint breeze cool it every evening at the hour when the saints to heaven's edge went forth to bless the dead. But the Lord arose with his sword, and scattered his disobedient angels, as a thresher scatters chaff.